Hello, my name is Travis Smith, and this video is to showcase an editor I built for a project at the Video Game Development Club at UC Irvine. What you're looking at now is the main desktop pane here. I have two windows up. My first is the tile map, which allows me to edit the individual tiles belonging to the rooms. As you can see, I have a grid up there with pathing. You can zoom in and out, scroll up and down, various options to allow you to navigate the map so the editors and designers can really get in there and play with the room. There's a few things here. Scroll speed allows them to keyboard scroll at varying rates so they can travel around the map a little faster. Now looking over at the painting, you'll see that there's two tabs, Auto Paint and Manual. The Auto Paint is to build large structures that are kind of easy inside the room. It's just Auto Paint methods just allow them to put down an outer room or an inner room, a vertical hall, horizontal hall, stuff like that, to kind of speed up the process, to allow the designer to put down the basic outline of the room. And as you can see here, it's done by just clicking the first corner and then the second corner. It can be of any size, and then the editor just fills in the individual tiles. Zooming out will allow the designers to lay out, the core parts of the room in such a way that they can then go in and then clean up the individual markers and connect the rooms and add various objects and pathing later. Once in manual painting, the designers will have a tile set available to them. If you look at the left, you'll see a scroll bar that has all the different tiles that allow them to lay out the rooms. You can do this individually, tile by tile, with left clicking, or if you hold down Shift and left click two areas, two corners, it'll draw the entire area you've selected with the selected tile or your current brush there. Now right-clicking does the opposite of left-clicking. It will remove the paint, and also when you hold down Shift you can remove entire blocks. And so it just allows you to paint quickly to get your tiles up there. Generally you use manual paint to clean up the room connections, or if you want a very specific outline for your room, then you can go in there and and make a custom room without necessarily relying on the auto paint methods. So as you can see here, I use the auto paint to get the big room, and then I go in with manual painting. I find the tiles I want, and I can kind of connect it, say with a small hallway here with corner tiles and such. Another big part is the pathing used in the rooms. Basically, each tile has a boolean that allows the designers to flag that specific 64 by 64 pixel area as pathable or not to players and enemies. Again, they can do this with a left click will flag it for pathing. You'll see it highlights blue. Holding down Shift will allow you to flag entire areas by clicking two corners. Right-clicking will remove the pathing area, and holding down Shift will allow you to remove entire areas of pathing. Also at the top you have a grid box show pathing, so if at any point in time you want to get rid of the blue highlights, you can uncheck that block and it'll get rid of them. The final portion of the editor allows the designers to place room objects inside of their rooms. Now, room objects can fill a lot of different roles. The way they're implemented is there's a singular object, room object, that is abstract. All the child classes then implement or extend this and add in their implementations for the abstract methods that allow them to either update, activate, or both, depending on whether or not the room object has data that needs updating or needs behavior when the player or an enemy collides with its collision box. The objects I'm placing down right now are called move triggers. Move triggers are essentially teleporters. Their destinations are flagged as other move triggers you place down. And so what I'm doing now is I've actually set these two move triggers to port to one another. So if the player steps onto this move trigger, it will send him to the other one, and if he stays on it, once the cooldown resets, it'll port him back and just keep bouncing him back and forth. Now, say you want to start with these disabled, so the teleporters are turned off. You'll uncheck the is enabled block, and you'll see they'll show up red now on the editor. This basically means that when the player first enters this level, they're turned off. If he stands on them, nothing will happen. In order to turn these on, you'll actually need to use another object called a room object trigger, which can then turn them on and enable them. So we'll place a door here. This is also set as disabled initially so that it's closed. It uses that value to be open or closed. Now, doors generally associate with their own pathing area. So a lot of times they will take care of actually flagging the tiles they belong to with pathing if they're open, or turning it off if they're not. Spawners are another object that are responsible for generating enemies inside the level. You can set the type, the size of the wave, and how often you want it to spawn, and then you just place these just like any other object. It's green, so it's on. You see the S there in the top right corner. So when the player first enters this level, the spawner will be on, the door is closed, and both move triggers are turned off. So in order to get your functionality, you'll use another room object child class called Object Trigger. Now these are where the big code comes in. The disabling object trigger that I'm building now, whenever an object is added to its activate list, you see on the right hand side, it will actually disable, it will turn it off. So we're going to add a disabling object trigger that turns off the spawner. We add that to its activate list there. We're going to place this somewhere. It doesn't really matter. We don't actually want the player to collide with this, so we place it off pathing just above that spawner. And then we're also going to want to turn off its use graphics box there. That prevents it from rendering inside the game once it's loaded up. Now anytime an object is edited, it's removed from the map and it'll need to be replaced. So we just replace the disabling object trigger. Its graphics are turned off, so inside the game it won't be seen. So now we're going to make our enabling object trigger. This one's going to turn on our move triggers and open our door. It's also going to add the disabling object trigger to the activate list. This is how you kind of get this dynamic behavior that allows the events to occur, turning things off, turning things on, etc. Can all be done with a single trigger. So this one will turn on 3 objects, the 2 move triggers in the door. It will also tell the disabling object trigger to activate, which will then disable everything in its activate list and thereby turn the spawner off. And so by hitting the center, the trigger in the middle, it allows the player to kind of change the aspect of the room, maybe complete a goal or a task, and move on into the next portion of this level. This editor does come with a built-in tester that allows the designers to test a single room once they have finished it or while they're building it, so they can make sure everything's working right. So this is a room I built earlier. As you can see, the spawner is generating enemies. Right click is the ranged attack, left click is the melee arc there. So the spawner's been set up. Now this move trigger is enabled, and it's going to teleport him down here to that move trigger, which is disabled to prevent him from going back up. Once he activates either one of the triggers going through that hallway, it turns on those 2 spawners, and then when he hits the trigger in the middle, it will call a disabler trigger, which turns off the spawners, while it itself opens the door. Now this move trigger takes him back up to the original one. That spawner's still on, so you got to take him out, but this door is now open from a trigger in the bottom. Walking through the door, you turn on more triggers, which turn these 2 spawners on. One spawns 4 slowly, the other spawns 1 very quickly, as you can see. Our pathing and our AI is not fully complete, so they're kind of stupid. By hitting that trigger he just hit inside that room, he actually hit the disabling trigger up there that I'm shooting at, which turned off the spawners, all 3 of them that were still up. And then, you run through, you finish off. It also opened up this door right here to my right, which will allow me to then go into the next room. There will be, that's where the hallway will be generated between the rooms, and you'll start into the next one. Now another set of objects we have are hazards. Now hazards can be built in 3 different ways. You can have a static hazard, a timed hazard, and a moving hazard. Static hazards are either on or off. They can be interacted with by enabling and disabling triggers, so you can change their behavior as the player progresses through the room, or you just keep them on or off the whole time. Timed hazards, when enabled, will alternate between being on and off based on a timer you set for them. Now if they're disabled, they're still always off, and then once they're enabled by, say, a trigger, then they'll turn on and off. So I just created the static hazard there. I just placed it on the ground. Like I said, they don't really do anything. So now I'm going to create the timed hazard. Now the interval that we have set up right now is either a ½ second, 1 second, or 2 seconds. So it'll just alternate between on and off if it's enabled between that time. So we'll set that for 2 seconds, place that down. The next one is a moving hazard. This one, when enabled, will move around the map based on the directions you give it there on the right hand side. This is kind of an old setup. We're going to change this up so you don't actually have to type in the actual X and Y moving values. You'll give it directions. There will be waypoints set up when this is fully completed. But we'll go ahead and hit cancel there. So let me remake this moving hazard for you and show you what it's like to place that. Again, it just places an icon like everything else. So again, this is all testable, so I'll take you into a small room that I built for testing hazards. There's a very, very simple knockback functionality added to these right now, so you know when you hit them that you'll get to see. So there's a moving hazard moving in the middle. On the bottom left, you'll see the timed hazard turning on and off. When it's off, you'll be able to walk on it, and when it's on, it'll knock you back. So it turned on, knocked him back, it's off. And the move hazard works the same way. If you get in its way, it'll knock you back. Now, once the game engine is fully integrated, this will also apply damage, put a small immunity on you, etc., so you don't get hit by it. But basically, the trigger just draws a line between its center and where you're hitting it and knocks you straight back from it while applying damage. And this is my AoE attacks I just put in. One thing I would like to add is that everything you have seen so far was coded by me. No other programmer has touched the editor, the tester, the room object, class hierarchy was all done by me. So everything you're seeing now is my work, minus the wizard that you saw weren't running around and the fireballs. But even the tiles I drew to help the artists with how they need to lay out the tiles inside. When writing this, I did utilize Java's built-in swing library, which helps me set up the frames and the buttons and so forth. But aside from that library, the code is mine. So that's my video. I hope you guys like my editor, and give me a call or send me an email, which is located on my webpage or my LinkedIn account. Thank you.